Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 187, recording on July 13th. You're watching it on the 14th or later. I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magicman. We're gonna two-man this bad boy today.
Yeah.
Q feeling a little under the weather, so hope she feels better. And Zach, MIA, probably doing the studying and the school. So we're gonna two-man it with myself and Jason Winter. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, except I just thought of something that I wanted to look up to talk about in the first topic, so I'm doing that now. So go ahead and keep talking again. Go ahead.
Just go ahead and I'll do the segue, and
Talk for a
while
little-
you do the researching, and we'll tag team it.
This all the time. And I look over I have stuff ready, and I do some searching, and right when we get to the first topic, I'm like, shoot, that one thing I thought about, I got to look that up now.
That's all right. I got some great shadow going because I got the halo light effect coming in the window, which will you'll be able to tell roughly what time of day it is depending on when in the show you watch this, because I look like a sundial right now. But let's slide over to the news and get started. All right, I guess the big news this past week is pretty self-explanatory. Last week, no show. We had the holiday week here in the United States, so hope everybody had a nice July 4th. And, of course, as is typically the case on those weeks, the news usually suffers. But late last week, things picked up, and they picked up quickly, Jason. They picked up quickly, and we got a couple of those things we're going to talk about today. First up, Pokemon Go. No. We're not going to talk about... Are you playing Pokemon Go?
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm not either. My kids are. And my wife started last night just to have something to do with the kids. But, yeah. I love my kids, but...
Can we put Pokemon Go now in the keyword for the video so that we get more hits?
Right?
We talked about it.
Yeah,
Right.
we did mention it. But what we're talking about, Turtle Rock Evolve.
Pokemon Evolve.
Pokemon, they do. Evolve officially went free-to-play on the PC right now. So you can head on over to Steam and play, search for Evolve Stage 2. Although I'm sure if you search for just Evolve, you'll still find it. So if you don't know what Evolve is, because it never really hit your radar, it was a console PC game, asymmetric PvP, 4 hunters, 1 big monster, and the object was for the hunters to kill the monster to kill the hunters, or evac, or depending on what stage it was. But that was basically it, 4v1, a monster against a lot of hunters. And I'll admit, you know, when I first heard about the game, Jason, I thought, that's kind of cool. You know, if they get that right, that could be kind of cool. But then as it started nearing release, there were problems. We heard not many levels, there really weren't very many monsters, and new monsters and items and things were going to be released via DLC, which people weren't happy about because the game was rather sparse when it first came out.
Fully priced at $60
Yep.
for a AAA game.
Yep, and I own it for the PlayStation 4.
Of course you do.
My
What don't you want?
12-year-old, I didn't want it. My 12-year-old really, really wanted it, and he predictably, like I told him, I said, you're gonna play this for a month, and then you're never gonna play it again. And that's exactly what happened. We didn't buy any of the DLC or anything because we thought their DLC, quite frankly, was a bunch of shenanigans, and we weren't alone in that, Jason.
Yeah, even the, I don't remember if it was the CEO or the game director or whoever it was, but whoever posted the original announcement of this going free to play, referenced the DLC shitstorm.
Yep.
That's his exact words. So yeah, even they knew
Those
that
were
it was
the
kind of
co-founders of Turtle Rock.
Co-founders, okay.
That said that. Absolutely amazing. Let me talk about that for a second, though, because to me, we love when companies, like, if they screw up, if they are really, really upfront about it. Like, we would rather they not screw up, but if they do, we would like them to be really upfront about it, and, oh, okay, we thought this was going to be okay, the players, you know, it just didn't work out, whatever. We'll learn from our lessons. And so initially when I saw that, you know, when it launched, we had good reviews, we had bad reviews. Let me read exactly that quote from it so that I can put this into a little bit of context, the point I'm going to make. The exact quote, and this is from, excuse me, Chris Ashton and Phil Robb, co-founders of Turtle Rock Studios. The exact quote was, they were talking about how excited they were about the anticipation for the game. And then, when Evolve launched, quote, the reception wasn't what we expected. Sure, there were some good reviews. There were also bad reviews. Yes, there was excitement. There was also disappointment for players and for us. The DLC shitstorm hit full force and washed away people's enthusiasm, dragging us further and further from that first magical pick-up-and-play experience, end quote. And they talk about wanting to go back and get that magic again, Jason. Initially, on first read, I was like, well, at least they're recognizing this. You know, at least they're being honest, and they're not trying to cover it with PR garbage. But then as I thought about it a little more, I was like, wait a minute. To me, they are using this as the PR garbage to cover it. Because if you honestly believe this, that you guys fucked up the DLC and everything, why is it only just now being addressed when you're going to go to free-to-play? The game launched in, like, February of 2015, so it's had a year and almost a year and a half where they didn't say, hey, we done screwed this up, we're going to make changes, we're going to fix this. It would be a lot like if BioWare called you right now, Jason, and said, hey, we're sending you a presser, and in the presser it says, guys, we've heard your feedback loud and clear. You don't like our free-to-play model. We're going to make changes to the model. We didn't do this right. We totally screwed it up. You would say, wait a minute. You've been hearing that feedback for a year plus now. Why are you only making changes now because that well has dried up? And now you have to find a new well? That's kind of what this screams to me, that although they're being upfront and calling it a shitstorm, that it's because they have to or the game goes away at this point. Am I way off base and just reading way too much into this?
No, not really. I don't necessarily think they're being nefarious about it. I don't think they're trying to go out and say it in that way, but I think you are correct that that is how it can be perceived. And interesting you use SWTOR as an example, because the interview I had with them, a few months ago, they said, yeah, the game was failing when we were paid up, like when we had a subscription and everything. They didn't say that, of course, back when it was failing. Then it was still, hey, everything's great, please play our game, buy it, whatever. Only when it went free to play now, a few years down the road, they're willing to say, yeah, we really were screwing up back then. And that's kind of the same thing right here. Now that they can't have the money from the DLC anymore, they'll say, yeah, we screwed up. Oops us. But, now we're going to make it better.
Yeah, the well is dry, so let's... Yeah. We totally screwed up. Okay, so enough kind of bashing it. Let's talk about what it looks like now. You did a first look video on it. Gameplay-wise, obviously, if you're familiar with Evolve, the gameplay you're going to see Jason playing in our first look video, take a look at it, is the exact same thing. It's more of the 4-on-1 stuff. But right now it's technically in a free-to-play beta. So I guess that's in terms of testing the free-to-play system, since the game has obviously been out for quite some time. But what were your thoughts of how it looks like they may be implementing a free-to-play model in this game? Obviously, if you've bought the game on PC, you do get some extra perks for supporting them. So what's the whole model looking like now? Where do you see it going? Was it done right? I'm hearing a lot of you can pretty much buy everything with the in-game currency. In fact, there is no cash currency at the moment.
Not at all. And actually now, as someone who never played Evolve before, and went into this completely new and never bought it, never really even looked at it that much, just jumped in, I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, this is kind of fun. I like playing this. I like how they have the system of the unlocks and everything, how they are, as you said, no cash involved, just, grind up your in-game currency. Didn't seem like it was a terrible kind of grind. I was making around, like, a little less than 1,000, I think, when I won, and maybe over 1,000, or less than 1,000 when I lost, maybe over 1,000 when I won. And it's like maybe the most expensive guys were maybe 5,000 or 6,000. So you play half a dozen matches, you could probably unlock a new character or whatever. So that's not bad. Now, for existing players, or players who had bought it before, that's where I've been hearing a little more negativity. PC. Yeah, on the PC. That's why I'm hearing a little more negativity, that the people who paid $60 for the initial game, bought this DLC, that DLC, spent all their money and so on, a lot of those guys do not feel like they were being rewarded very well. And I've seen a few conflicting reports on how that goes. Apparently they did, Turtle Rock did increase the amount of currency you got. It was initially 3,000, and I think that's been bumped up to 30,000 if you owned the game before. I don't know how all the DLC fits into it. They actually are saying, looking at their one of their notes, says if you owned any hunters, monsters, or skins previously, those will be carried over to Evolve Stage 2. But then I see some people post reviews saying I don't have all the stuff I bought. I got my little bit of currency, which apparently is a little more currency, and I have to rebuy with all that. So I don't know what the situation is there. Maybe it's going to be added later as they get more into the beta or whatever. But yeah, as a free player, as someone going in and never touching it before, I like it a lot. As someone who had been playing it before, I could understand that I might not feel as happy with how things are turning out.
Honestly, this is one that even back then I kind of thought this should be free to play off the bat. And when it went free to play now, I immediately reached out to you and I said, hey, do you want the first look? Because I had played Evolve on this one and know that you were a Nosgoth guy and you kind of like that asymmetry. So I said, hey, do you want to take this first look on here? I didn't know in asking if you wanted that one that you had never played it before.
No.
And so I can imagine having what they talk about, the first magical experience, that you jumped in and, hey, this is pretty damn cool.
Mm-hmm. Although I'm also hearing, too, that it might have been simplified quite a bit from the earlier stuff, from the earlier version, which, again, is a good way to draw in more people.
Yeah.
But it's going to be kind of going to make the existing players a little unhappy.
Yeah, they're making a ton of changes. The initial roster of changes they put out there for this first beta test, because it basically got announced the day before you could get in. They're reworking the hunter class to make the team less reliant, classes to make the team less reliant on having experienced trappers and medics. So yeah, a little nerfed down there as far as the skill curve goes. Improvements to maps and UI, improving loading times, performance, and getting into game faster, improving stability and fixing bugs, completely reworking the progression system and tutorials. Again, like you said, kind of pulling that skill curve down just a little bit. And we're adding more customization options. Obviously, then it goes on with all the founders' stats. I think this will do relatively well as a free-to-play. My concern is the people that bought it, yeah, I'm sure they feel totally assed out on this one because it was such an awful DLC implementation that the people that did spend money on it, that's got to feel rough. It's not the typical, you know, I bought Terra and then a year later it went free to play. This is I bought Terra, then I bought Terra's second expansion, then third expansion that they released 3 months and 6 months in. It's a little different in my book. I kind of am with the people that are a little miffed, but I think this will probably do pretty well as free to play. I don't think we'll see Evolve going anywhere, disappearing anytime soon, and if they didn't do free to play, it would have been gone now, I have to assume.
Well, in the short term, it's doing really well. They said they were up, I think, 16,000% in their player base over the weekend. So definitely got people looking into it. Some who probably came back who had had it before and checked back in. A lot of whom were saying that you just couldn't find a match when you were playing because there were so few people on. And that definitely wasn't an issue for me. Maybe about a minute or so in queue, and I had no problem finding people to play with.
The reviews, still mixed. Still mixed. We've got a little over 10,000 recent reviews in a mixed status on Steam. Overall, a little over 26,000 as mixed. So it's going to be one of those games like Nosgoth where it either hits the mark for you and you love it, or it just you don't like the asymmetry of it, you don't like something about it, and you don't. It's not really one that's going to capture the biggest mainstream general audience and be able to hold most of those people. And again, yeah, you're right. A lot of particularly the negative reviews are owner's copy of Evolve and had this DLC. And then all the cons, less maps, less modes, less language options. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure some of that stuff's going to be worked out. But
yeah, I mean, they've probably got some sort of long-term. I mean, if they're not charging money for anything now, they obviously have some long-term plan where they're going to go ahead and eventually work that stuff in and get more features and so on. So yeah,
right.
Like you said, it's not going to disappear in like a few weeks. They must have something planned out where they think in 3 months, 6 months, or whatever, that's when we're going to get this stuff in. Of course, the cynical people might say the reason they can afford to run it for free right now is they gouged us so badly with the initial launch. They're sitting on their piles of money. They can just burn through it as much as they like. Yeah.
Right. Here's the thing, though. They have to be, I would think, even more careful with the way they do any type of DLC now that it's free to play. They have to be overly conscious about that. Anyway, good luck to Evolve. Let us know what you think about Evolve in the comments below, whether it's the gameplay, the conversion to free to play, whether you agree with me that maybe being as brutal about the DLC as they were was just kind of a needless PR spin. Maybe it's not as genuine as you would think. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's move on. Speaking of time running out for certain titles, this one we've kind of batted. You like to poke me about Phantasy Star Online 2 never coming to the West. I like to poke you about Lord of the Rings Online totally being
which
dead.
has actually been out.
Shut up. Totally being dead sometime next year. So we all know that the clock is ticking on the Lord of the Rings IP for Turbine / Warner Brothers, and has been for a while. There's a big renewal period coming up at the end of next year, towards the end of 2017. And we've always kind of speculated that the game's probably not making Warner Brothers enough, that we just don't see that license being renewed, which would mean effectively Lord of the Rings Online would disappear, and disappear very quickly. It wouldn't be able to do like a maintenance mode or anything like that. They wouldn't own the IP, and so it would be gone anymore. They wouldn't own the rights to use it. Well, we've touched on it here and there, but no real confirmation or anything, but uh-oh, Jason.
Magic L word.
Uh-oh. Layoffs hit Turbine, and of course our condolences go out to anybody impacted by the layoffs, and we hope that you rebound and find gainful employment very, very quickly. I know what it's like to be laid off. It sucks. This straight from Turbine. Turbine is transitioning into a free-to-play mobile development studio. There's a combination of great buzzwords. And as a result, we are eliminating some positions. The Lord of the Rings Online and Dungeons & Dragons Online games will continue to operate as they do now. Refocusing and reducing the studio size was a difficult decision for the company, and we're grateful to all of the Turbine staff for their considerable contributions. Did you cry a little bit when you read that, Jason?
I think my tears have long since dried up regarding Lord of the Rings Online.
Oh, you know you love it. Stop it.
Yeah, I do. I actually patched up and jumped back in this weekend.
So Jason and I were kind of talking about this one behind the scenes, and I said, you know, what does this mean for Lord of the Rings and DDO? And Jason said, well, you know, they're just going to keep doing what they do, and they're just going to go into mobile. And I said, no, I get that, but are we ever going to see Mordor? And Jason said, well, they're going to operate the way they do now. And I said, right, but if you look at the wording there, it almost implies maintenance mode. You know, the games will continue to operate as they do now. So that's total speculation, obviously, on my part. It was just kind of a banter between Jason and I asking, are we ever actually we're so close to Mordor in Lord of the Rings Online right now that it would be a real shame for me, even though I'm not a player, to see it die before that happens. I think a lot of people would probably be disappointed at that one.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've got a whole year and a half, and they have been seemingly putting stuff out a little more quickly lately in the last about last year and a half or so, getting us through all the Gondor stuff and getting through the major battles there. So, I mean, I think they did Battle of Pelennor Fields, which is that big, huge battle outside the Minas Tirith right near the end. So really, all they've got left is, you know, Frodo and Sam and Mordor, which I don't know exactly how they're gonna handle that. It's not like there were, you know, 1,000 players or 1,000 people following them through Mordor the whole time. So they're going to have to be a little careful with how they handle that. I guess they use instances or whatever to make that a little more
probably phasing.
Realistic. Yeah, well, yeah, they actually have like the individual instances too that you can do. But yeah, it's going to be a little weird, you know, figuring out how to get that. Unlike when you have, you know, a big army fighting a huge battle outside Minas Tirith, you can handle that. But yeah, I mean, I think they are going to try to do something to at least provide that kind of conclusion, even if it is a little rushed. And that's what I worry about. It's going to be a little small. After 9, it'll be, you know, 10 years next year. My biggest worry is not that they're not going to do it, but that it's going to seem anticlimactic after everything else that we've been through this whole decade.
Yeah, it's going to seem half-assed.
Yeah, well, okay, if you want to put it that way. I tried to be polite about it.
I will. This shadow is looking really impressive. It really is not dark in this room. Trust me, but the camera with sunlight right here, I should put a shade up or something. You know, it's not like I haven't done this stuff for years and years and should know this. So, I mean, does this officially ring the death knell that by the end of 2017, LOTRO is no more?
I think it would be almost impossible to imagine it continuing in any form after this. I know some people are going to say, well, but the stuff happens after. You can do all the fourth age stuff, and you can do this and that. And it's like,
Yep.
yeah, but that's just never been that popular. Whenever you do a Lord of the Rings license, it almost has to be set in that time of the War of the Ring.
Yeah.
Doing stuff outside that and other different eras just doesn't work. It doesn't draw in that many people. Now, if the game were just launching, the one point I can say about that is if the game were just launching, then yeah, you'd have to have the core stuff. But at this point, if you're kind of down to the hardcores already, maybe you could almost manage something else. But
Yeah.
I don't think so.
What do you think on the DDO front? That's one that I could see surviving in maintenance mode for quite some time. I can't imagine that that license is spread all over the place anyway.
Yeah,
so
I mean, you've got
doesn't-
multiple.
Yeah, I mean, Cryptic Studios with Neverwinter, and which I've been playing. I started playing last night. I'm going to play it a little more tonight on the PlayStation 4 Head Start. I don't know what it is. I know this is a total tangent. The UI looks fantastic. It really does. They did a solid job on the PS4 UI, and it's in Head Start right now, so you have to buy their little pack or whatever if you want to check it out. But the graphics of the game itself, they look shitty. And it even caused me to go back into my PS4 settings and make sure I had it set on 1080p.
Wow.
They look fuzzy. I know it's an older game, but it's an older PC
It's only 3 years old.
Yeah, but it's an older PC game that was... It's not like you had to port this to the PlayStation 2, so you had to graphically dumb it down all that much. Maybe it's just me and where my monitor, where my TV is. I don't know. But the UI looks so crisp, so fancy, so shiny, so awesome. And then the game behind it, like I zoom in on character models and I'm like, you look stupid. So maybe it's just a Head Start thing. I don't. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm going blind in my old age. So anyway, DDO I think I could see surviving indefinitely. I mean, pull a Final Fantasy XI where it's just in maintenance mode on the PC forever.
Right.
But
and it's obviously not the same license as Lord of the Rings, so.
Yeah, but I gotta think LOTRO's done. LOTRO is done.
Yeah.
All right, what else? Oh, speaking of companies that really kind of stumbled and maybe put out some PR. So there's some good news and some bad news here on Warframe. If you didn't see any of TennoCon from this past weekend, check out the wrap-up post that I put on mmobomb.com. Tons of stuff for you Tenno out there on the War Within trailer, the new animated show type series that Masher's doing. Fantastic stuff. And a bunch of content. Obviously, the Spectres of the Rail update not being as well received as Digital Extremes probably expected it to be, and even acknowledging that it should be held back. But lots and lots of great stuff from Warframe. Check out that piece. I put all the trailers and videos all in one piece for you there. So if you're a Warframe fan, you got a lot to be excited about this year. If you're a Warframe fan in the last 14 days, though, you've probably been pretty pissed at Spectres of the Rail. And we saw Reddit light up with a number of posts detailing a ton of things wrong with the update. And to be fair, these players did put their pros in there too, but the cons were just devastating. To the point that game director Steve Sinclair stepped up on the old Reddits and decided to say, we should have held it back 100%. Sometimes we have an immovable deadline, almost always a marketing promotion, and it twists up our priorities. It shouldn't, but it does. Our QA is not at fault and did their best given the unreasonable scope and time. Your rant is spot on, and the only thing we can do now is make it right. Sorry for the mess. Frowny face. And again, an instance of this is the type of stuff we like to hear when there's a screw-up, Jason. But in reading more into this, may not necessarily be all that accurate. For instance, Sinclair talked about the QA team. From everything I'm reading, now I'm not in this content personally, so this is all anecdotal third-party evidence. I know, I understand that, but I'm seeing it everywhere, so it can't be that far off base. There are core things wrong with this patch, this update, that and everybody's using the same example. If a QA tester would have just sat down and played the story stuff for 30 minutes to an hour, they would have stumbled across all of these things. It's just the player base is so confused on, if it wasn't QA, what happened here? Because some of these errors are blindingly evident.
I mean, on the one hand, I want to be sympathetic because I've been in the situation where marketing or advertising says something's got to be done, and you just have no choice over it, and you have to work your face off and probably do a shitty job on it. And that sounds like what happened here. So, not knowing exactly how their QA works, I like to try to give them the benefit of the doubt that they just didn't have the time, didn't have any reasonable amount of time to figure stuff out. But the way you're describing it, as stuff that takes you half an hour to figure out, yeah, I mean, I wonder if that was the sort of thing where maybe they reported it, and then some programmer said, yeah, we don't have time to fix this, move on. So that's where I would tend to put that more.
Right, and so don't bring your QA into this. Yeah.
Well, he said he brought it in by saying they're not at fault. It's not their fault.
Yeah, I guess. The other thing that bugs me, and I hate seeing this one still particularly, is well, remember, guys, Warframe is still in beta. Oh,
God!
Fuck you!
No.
I'm so. It's like what? 2013? 2015? What is it? Warframe.
You're gonna look it up. Okay.
Wiki. Yeah, let's hit the wiki. Here it is. Development 2012. Digital Extremes announced they are working on Warframe, which borrows from Dark Sector. Blah blah blah. Oh, here we go. Started the Warframe closed beta October 24th, 2012. Since then, it says several version of hotfixes. Open beta launched May 25th, 2013. So I was right on the year.
March 25th. That's what I have for
2013. A PlayStation 4 version was also developed and was released on the console's launch in November 2013, while the Xbox One version launched on September 2nd, 2014. You're not in beta. Shut up.
Yeah. Well, it's fair. It was the players bringing this up, right? As defense, not Steve.
Oh yeah, Steve. I don't think Steve. He didn't say it in this post, and Steve's a smart guy,
Sure.
so I wouldn't assume that he would. But yeah, players did. Definitely brought up. Well, it's in beta. Shut up.
Hey, anytime you find an error on our website's in beta.
Here's one. See, now this person on Reddit is saying that Digital Extremes keeps bringing up the beta tag, but then somebody replies saying that they removed beta from the name years ago. So, I don't know. But there are plenty of beta arguments. Set that aside. This is a rough one. I really enjoy Warframe. It's one that I dabble in. It's like I got 2 hours to kill. I want something to play. And I really, really like their free-to-play model, Jason. I mean, I really do. You can farm plat nicely in-game, and you got to work for it. There's a few tricks if you have the right gear to be able to pull off. You can farm pretty quickly on a daily basis. So if you know what you're doing, the UI really doesn't help you in that case. I think new players are kind of guided into the cash shop without maybe given a chance to really explore their options. But if you know what you're doing, Warframe's got one of the better free-to-play models out there for me. And so this one really, this kind of hurts. This kind of hurts. But, gotta give it to them, man. Hotfixes have been rolling out left and right really quickly. Really quickly.
Maybe they can also grab marketing and pull them into a room and say, look, this is what happens.
Right?
Look at this. Of course, marketing doesn't care as long as the money keeps flowing in. So, who cares with our angry
Yeah,
people?
he totally threw the marketing team right under the bus.
That is weird. That is pretty weird for someone to just come out and say that straight up.
He was like, yeah, normally we're forced to do a date. Damn marketing department. Sons of... Why you do this to us? It was pretty much threw him under the bus. But... hey, here's hoping it gets better, and the War Within trailer looked fantastic. It'll cap off the story, going through some of this stuff nicely, and the ending of the trailer is pretty cool. So, yeah, check it out. If you're a Warframe fan, there's a lot to be excited about. We'll look at this one as just yet another screw-up that will be fixed in patches. Let's slide over and do the weekly bombs. Jason, you want to go first, or you want to go second?
Yeah, I'll go second.
You'll go second. All right, I'll do mine first then. I'm going to give a dub bomb to Riders of Icarus so far. So far, I've logged a little over 70 hours. I think like 72, 73 hours. I have 2 level 25 capped characters. I got my wizard up there first, Jason, to 25. Turned around and got all the way to the end of the story quests. Turned around, got my assassin up to 25, and then I have a level 12 and a level 7 behind those. So I'm pushing the level cap. I have concerns. I do. I mean, besides it being a very run-of-the-mill MMORPG with a Pokemon aspect thrown onto it, kind of like a Dragamon Hunter, although this held me substantially longer than Dragamon Hunter did. That's a game I used to get pressed for that every day.
Oh, yeah.
I
I remember
heard
that.
shit on that since that came out. I do have concerns. I mean, the game is not terribly well optimized. They've got to be releasing content quickly here, because capped at level 25, I mean, I've got 2 characters there already. I'm halfway on a 3rd and a quarter of the way on a 4th. And I can only create 5 classes, 4 character slots. Doesn't make sense. Can't even open the 5th slot. Shows up with a lock, but you can't open it in any way, shape, or form.
Not even for money?
Nope. And the only reason I have the 4th character slot was because I had the Founders Pack that included a coupon to get the 4th slot. So I don't know. 5 classes, 4 characters.
Why would they not even sell character slots?
I assume they're coming. They would have to be, right? Because there's new classes that are in Korea that aren't here yet. So. And apparently I wouldn't be able to play them on the server I play on already. So yeah, content's a concern. Optimization's a concern. There's some issues here and there. The Alloons thing, I'm still kind of feeling a little bit of a pinch on the Alloons. With doing my enchanting of gear at max level. But I'm not spending too much time doing that. Because, I mean, there's people up there on the servers right now getting plus 15, plus 16, plus 17, plus 18 on equipment. It flashes a system message so you can see it.
Oh, that's lovely.
And while I can understand that being, cool to do, and while you're really strong and everything, the content in Korea goes all the way up to, like, level 60, guys. And sometime this month, they're raising the level cap already. And you've spent all those times and materials in gear that's going to be replaced, 3 dozen quests in, because we're not really at level cap. We're not at end game. We're just at the current end game. So there's concerns about the way they're doing this to me, but I got to give it a dub on because it has kept my attention, and I'll be playing it later today again. So after maybe some Neverwinter or before Neverwinter. I don't know.
If you're investing all sorts of time or resources into something where it's not even level cap, I don't feel bad for you. Be smarter.
That's true. So yeah, I give it a dub bomb, and let's plug the community live stream next Tuesday, the 19th, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. Jason Winter, Q, and myself. I think Zach is tied up with studies, but the 3 of us will be playing Riders of Icarus. We'll be rolling brand new they'll be rolling brand new characters.
I've never played. You're gonna have to show me the ropes.
I'll bring one of my characters over.
Push me off a flying mount,
all of a sudden didn't realize I wasn't gonna be able to create a new character if I rolled one more. So yeah, we're gonna be on Beleus, a North American server, 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, hanging out with the community on twitch.tv/MMOBomb. So come on over, jump in game. We'll create a bunch of parties and go have some fun. Jason, what do you got?
I've got an A-bomb. A-bomb from
boy.
the flaming pits of hell. It's a winning putt.
Oh
yeah.
Boy.
Good old winning putt. I've spoken its glory many times.
Yeah, you have. You like this game. I like this game.
I was into it. I was really into it. So I hadn't played in a couple months, though, and I log in, patch it up a couple days ago, log in. My character is naked. He's on the select screen, and he's naked. I'm like, what the heck is going on? He's wearing his little underwear. I'm just like, what's going on? Well, I was wearing something when I logged out last. Why am I not wearing it now? So I go into the game, and I look for the totally awesome outfit that I had earned during the St. Patrick's Day promotion.
You talking about this one right here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That one. That one right there. And it's just gone. It's not in my inventory. It's not anywhere. So I'm like, well, what the heck's going on? Was there an error? Did it somehow get accidentally deleted?
You do look studly. I'll tell you that much.
It's amazing. I mean, who wouldn't want that kind of outfit?
I might wear one of those on a free-to-play cast.
All right. So I get in game and I look around. It's not in my inventory or anything. So I'm like, what happened?
Did you just delete it?
No, that's what I wonder. I thought maybe accidentally it happened. Because stuff happens sometimes. Stuff accidentally gets deleted. So I go online. I look around a little while. No, it's working as intended. It was only meant to be a temporary outfit you get during the time of the festival for like a month. So I worked to unlock an outfit that I then put on, and then it gets taken away from me a few weeks later. And I don't know a single MMO developer who could possibly think this is a good idea. How in the world would you ever think that it's a good idea to take away an outfit that someone earns?
You were not happy, to say the least.
I was ranting in our MMO bomb chat.
Yeah, I'm trying to find your...
I was on Twitter,
yeah, I'm scrolling through your Twitter.
I was yelling at their Twitter account. Now they said, after telling us for a while, oh, this is always intended this way, and it was. Now, I'll admit, it said that on the website at least. I could see references to it on the website, talking about the festival that was supposed to be temporary. I don't know if it said it in game, like during the quests or on the item. I don't know that because I don't have it anymore. That's why I don't know. So yeah, to some extent, it was my fault. But why would anyone ever expect that this is going to be how it's going to happen? When? When does this ever happen in MMO?
Yeah, so here is...
Oh, God, you're going to actually pull up my Twitter?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here it is. Because I was laughing. Because when we put the article up, I remembered seeing, it was a limited time thing. And so then months later, when you're asking about it, I said, well, wait, wasn't it a limited time thing? Here's our article. It says after the event, it's gone. And you were like, I don't care. It didn't say it in game.
I might have said it in game. I said that I didn't know. Well, I probably skimmed over and said limited time event. Okay, fine. The event's going to be gone in a little while. And I won't be able to get the outfit anymore. Can't earn it. Fine. That's cool. But to just take it away from me is no. So I just uninstalled the game.
Yeah, this is not even my favorite one. This is so it looks like it was on the website that the winning pot outfits were temporary. Don't know if it was in the game. Still an awful policy. They said those outfits were limited time due to an event. Most of our rewards are permanent. You said, and it's still an awful policy that serves no useful purpose. And you're right. And they replied, we're sorry you feel that way, and the sentiment reflects our communities as well, so you clearly aren't the only one. And they said it's something that we want to change. Yeah. My favorite was basically when they wished you Godspeed and good luck. Where is that one? Oh.
They said something like it was for a limited time, and then I responded with, well, I guess my interest in the game is for
and they were like, good luck. Oh, well.
Oh.
So an A-bomb, huh?
I'm sad. I'm even sadder about this than I am about LOTRO.
Wow. All right, Sailor Naruto 39 says, I want to give an A-bomb to Naruto and Soul Arena. I used to play them when I was 16, now I'm 22, and seriously, those games are bad for my mental health. It's too dependent on RN Jesus, who apparently hates me. Too many times I literally wanted to smash my computer over losing because I didn't have the right chakra or spirit energy. At least with Smite, I lose purely because I suck or the enemy is better. So seriously, F that game and any other luck-based TBS games. I'm not a big fan of the RNG either.
Make sure to check out Naruto Online coming
on the 20th.
West next week. Yep.
Go ahead, sir.
Luca Dornjak says, an A-bomb to Skyforge. Since college ended, I figured I should get back into Skyforge and my godhood. Started a new EU account. Played for 5 days, and through all those 5 days, I have not played with another player. Dungeons are now solo. The prestige system limits interaction between high prestige players and low ones. If I didn't know the game was an MMORPG, I would have said the game was a single-player game. No wonder it has population issues. Not even going to start on the weekly spark limits. Yeah, I mean, I never figured out why they...
Another game that just disappeared, man.
Well, we thought they were supposed... They originally had it where, they had the prestige, and, if you were 1,000 prestige, you couldn't really do something with someone who was 10,000. Then they said something, well, you can't play together, we're going to adjust stats or whatever. I was like, well, why did you do it in the first place then? But then now apparently that's not working, so... Remind me again that vertical leveling is required for an MMO. Remind me that it's a good idea. Keep telling me that.
It's the daily message I get from Jason on Skype every day.
Weekly. You get it about weekly or so.
Nom Nom Kitty says, I spent more time watching your shows than playing my last 5 MMOs.
Excellent.
Hey, thanks. That's a
then play Riders of Icarus with us.
Yep, next Tuesday. Come on. Go ahead, sir.
Wilfredo Rivera says, A-bomb to alpha test. I am old school and don't want to see a thing until it is near launch. Beta tests are fine, but until you have a solid grip on how you want the game to actually function, please keep Oz behind the damn curtain so as not to ruin my expectations. Well, Fredo, I love you, man. You're awesome.
Indeed.
And early access also fits in there as well.
Brandon Flagg and many, many others on YouTube said happy birthday to Q. Unfortunately, she's not here for that the bomb to make sense. Question of the week last week. WildStar is adding a boost to max level
Remind
item.
me again. How? No, never mind.
Is this good for that game in particular? Toll Short says, I don't mind level boost for the most part. For WildStar, it might bring in income, but may hurt the game more than expected. I haven't played in a long time, but when I did, people quit when they hit the cap due to the hardcore nature of the game. If the difficulty is still high, it'll just scare those players off sooner rather than later. Now, on that aspect of the hardcore stuff, they have toned that back. Endgame, to me, in WildStar is hands down the best part. This might be a little early on my side. Go ahead, Jason.
What to say? If that's the best part, then why do they have all that leveling crap? Anyway. All right, Deathlocks' question of the week. I don't mind the max level boost. It's a good way to roll another character if you want. Plus, the endgame gear is a much higher level than level 50 cap anyways. It wouldn't put you at an equal playing field as other max level characters. All you will really have are a bunch of level 50 noobs running around, but I think it's a good way to invite more players to try the game. The bomb goes to Riders Vickers. I've sucked nearly 20 hours in that game in 2 freaking days. I'm loving it right now.
I didn't even know that there was a da-bomb hidden in there.
So sneaky.
Sneaky da-bomb. Chewy says, for the WildStar boost, I'm normally all for games having boosts so people can skip through the level progression, but in the case of WildStar, I think it's really just an excuse to give up on their leveling. They must know that their current leveling content is absolute shit. They could easily go back and make changes to their system to make it better. It's not even really that many levels. WoW recently went back and revamped the leveling process from 1 to 40, showing that even with selling boosts, they wanted people to still have a somewhat fun experience with leveling. WildStar seems to really just want to focus on perfecting their endgame, and I would not disagree with that. And while the WildStar team has talked about redoing leveling an awful lot, and they started to, but we really haven't seen much on that front, and then all of a sudden this boost out of nowhere.
The difference is WoW makes money.
That's true. That's very...
Yeah.
You make an astute point, my friend.
All right. Daniel Menzies says, I like that WildStar is doing the leveling token thing. Leveling the game is really boring. What they could do is control it, but they could... What they could do, control it, is do it... I think it's, what they could do to control it is do it real cheap for the first buy, and if you wanted to buy more leveling tokens, it would double each time. I don't know about that. That might seem a little...
That'd be brutal.
Unpleasant, yeah.
Selena and Kat says, I think it's a good idea. I'm not a new player, but I would love to not have to go through the leveling process one more time, and I love WildStar Endgame so much. So Selena and Kat's pretty much right where I am.
Is this the first time we've had a bomb from, or a user comment from Cats?
From Cats, yeah, and I just hit the weekly bomb bump going to your camera. So you'll see it twice. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. Wilfredo Rivera, my man from above. All right, says, question of the week. Too soon. This may have some serious blowback in WildStar. Guild Wars 2 waited a good long time after their Heart of Thorns expansion before giving people a capped character, like 6 months. But WildStar hasn't, and most likely won't even have an expansion mentioned, and yet the idea of a capped tune makes me not want to invest in the game. Carbine needs to go back and make some serious changes to the game to make the fun stuff accessible fairly early or as you progress, instead of giving away the end game. Make me want to play your game, not demo it.
And that's a fair comment. There aren't many things, and even with the stuff they've tried to add to get you into dungeons earlier and into little adventures earlier, it just doesn't do it as you're leveling. Oh man, I want to see the next version of that because it's bigger and badder and stronger, and yeah.
Because probably just like when I've gone back to playing Star Wars Old Republic, I was like, well, I can run this flashpoint and get through it and get some loot, or just go off and solo for an hour and get the exact same leveling and just move on. So why queue up and do this difficult content when I can just do the easy stuff? So.
Sky Shadows is question of the week. To be honest, if what you say it's true, it's maybe the best thing they can do. If the endgame is good and the leveling is bad, I second that. It's beyond boring. There's no reason not to give the player the best part of the game. My problem is, sidebar, this isn't Sky's, but they're making you pay for this.
Yeah, they're not giving you anything.
Yeah, they're making you pay for this.
We made a crappy game, so pay us to make it better.
Right. Not to get my point across wrong, I love leveling, as do I. My opinion, this is the best part of any game. I enjoy it too. I wouldn't say the best, but I enjoy it. If executed correctly. The only problem will be the noobs. I really mean the new beginners. They're going to be easy kills in PvP and failed teams in PvE. But again, for those that enjoy the game but hate the level grinding, it's the best option. And even then, not everyone's going to jump on a max level booster. Question of the week next week. Will Evolve get any of your attention? Why or why not? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure you put your weekly bombs there too. Da bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad, and of course, Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern to 7 p.m. Eastern, the 19th. Come on over, twitch.tv/MMOBomb. Even if you can't jump on the server and play with us, come hang out on Twitch and chat. Jason, until then, where can everybody find you?
Find me on Twitter at Winter Informal, on the Twitch at twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka Magic Man. You can follow me on Twitter at MagicMan1, MAGICKMANN1, or come on over to MMOBomb.com. Check out all the great articles, videos, first looks. We got a new video coming out soon. We've got the giveaways, tons of stuff for you to explore. Come and hang out. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.